Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for Politically Incorrect Knitters. I'm Deplorable Knitter, and I am joined as always by our lovely and talented and supremely knowledgeable Pinkava.
Ha ha, ah ha ha.
No, you are.
As I was, talking with before the show, it's kind of the scene in, Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail after they do the witch trial. Who are you who are so wise in the ways of science? And I'm just like, I just said, weigh her with a duck, and you thought I was wise. Like, what is this?
There's no rhyme or reason to any of it, Anne, but
None
you
at all.
more facts than I do, so therefore you are the wise one in this whole setup.
Yeah.
As we've said before, I'm just the name.
Have more free time, but whatever. You will always be the Ted Cruz to my Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles, is that why?
Yes. They do the verdicts together. It's The Verdict with Ted Cruz, and Michael Knowles kind of hosts, but it's Ted Cruz is the headliner. Yeah, that's why you don't know who he is.
Oh, that's funny. Although I think that you're gaining in popularity, so don't feel bad.
I'll be out there yet.
Oh yeah, and I'll put this out there now. I'll make it work.
Okay.
My Instagram is getting really a lot of people following it, so I'm going to do a giveaway. So keep your eyes open for that.
Yay, that's exciting. Love a giveaway.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a half skein of dog whistle from a wetted yarn and fiber, and a skein of natural yarn, so that you also, whoever wins, can make the stained glass diamonds hat, because it will finally be out.
Yay!
Here's the beautiful dog whistle yarn by Tina at a wetted yarn and fiber, and it will be paired with a natural skein of yarn. And I'm going to do an Instagram giveaway. So if you follow me on Instagram, if you have friends that follow me on Instagram, make sure you tell them so that you guys can be entered to win a skein, 150 grams of yarn, and the pattern for the stained glass spirals beanie. Okay? Cool. Excellent.
Yay!
That's a good prize, right, Anne?
Yeah, I think so.
And I've been talking about that pattern for like 3, 6 months, 12 months, something stupid. So it's a good thing.
Right.
Okay.
It needs to be promoted. It's out there. Bye.
Okay, so Anne has been over there knitting her little heart out. What would you like to talk about?
I know. There's some actual knitting for our knitting show. Which I say like
favorite.
I know, it's my favorite too, when we actually do the knitting thing. First of all, here is so I've been working on a couple of things. My sweater is still in the bag. I worked on it a little bit, but it's not worth showing. It's yellow, it's blue, you've seen it. But we have, so this cowl, which again, I say this is a gift from my mother. So mother, do not look. Don't do this. Why? Stop. Skip 5 minutes ahead. Don't. But for everybody else.
Skip 30 seconds ahead. I'm sure that you're not going to talk about it for 5 minutes.
I might, Give me a solid minute and a half. All right, anyways, but here it is. That it is a cowl, and I am absolutely in love with this yarn. It is so beautiful.
It is so pretty.
I know. And I'm going to block it so it's stretched a little bit so you can see the stripes. So I don't know. It is
a lot.
So rich. And then, so how this will be constructed. So it's a cowl, and along the bottom and along the sides, you see I have all of these little eyelets, and I'm going to put buttons on the other side, and those haven't come yet, but it's a pearlized navy blue button. So that it can either be wrapped around your neck and then buttoned that way, or wrapped over itself so it kind of tucks into your coat and then buttoned along the bottom. So I'm pretty excited for it. I think it will be useful. I think it will be nice. and I hope it will be finished before it's needed. You know, fall's coming. So yeah, I'm knitting my little fingers off, and yeah, so I only have about that much of it left, and you can see how it wants to be argyle. It is so pretty, right? I wanted it to be more argyle before. I don't remember if I said, but I was thinking like, oh, well, maybe to hopefully get the stripes throughout it, I should knit it the other direction. But then I wasn't sure how long it would be, and I want to use as much of this as possible because it's fantastic. So I didn't want to mess up my measurement and then turn it into a scarf or an awkwardly, yeah, I didn't want that to happen. So I'm like, you know, short stripes, it's not a bad thing.
No, it's nice. Sometimes when they stripe, it can be awkward looking, but that doesn't. It does it nicely so that it's good.
Right, and there are a couple of sections, I don't know if you can see because it is very dark, where there's like more brown. You can see a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
But not really. It's not enough, I think, to be seriously noticeable where there's like a little chunk of brown, but it's a little mottled and different. So yeah, so I'm really excited about that one. And I will, of course, you know, at least if I finish it and then give it, I'll take a nice picture. It's okay. But yeah, I have that. And I have, so I got yarn from our friend Kia at Cedar Hill Yarns. So I don't think I showed that on the show. So
no, you didn't.
I should do that because she was kind enough to send me a second skein of it, which we're going to use as a giveaway during Christmas because it is a Christmas themed yarn.
It's so pretty.
I know. It's called Gnome for Christmas. And gnome as in the little bearded thing, not gnome as in my governor. Ha ha ha. So anyways, so there's the yarn, and this is why you chat with Deplorable Knitter about things. Oh, and also it comes with a little charm. I know. You can see you can see a little tiny bit. It's difficult. Yeah, you can kind of in the reflection see it as it goes, but there is a gnome there. It's just hard to focus for my computer camera. But anyways, I was talking about making this pair of socks, and I'm like, oh man, you know, the stripes are only in order in one direction, and that means I'd have to knit one sock and then knit another sock, and I don't do that. I'm a two at a time sock person, so I don't have to measure anything. That is my jam when it comes to socks. And she's just like, oh, well, why don't you just weigh the yarn and then wind it out and then, you know where to cut and then do the next one. I'm like, oh, duh, of course.
I'm glad it worked out for you because as most of our viewers know, I despise knitting socks. And I've only ever knit 3 because I tried cuff down once, and that was one sock at a time. And then I did finish a pair that was 2 at a time. So I understand the struggle. You don't want to get trapped in that. Now I have an extra random sock just hanging around.
Right. And
never fun.
I know, while it is everything you hate, I think I'll convert you yet because I love sock knitting. And you're like, not my jam.
You can hope, but it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah. So
I like things that are quick.
That's true. That is very true. But the pattern, and I'm going to show you in a second what I'm sort of testing for this. So I wound it out, and I think this ball is actually bigger than this one. This has a couple more rounds on it because when I weighed the yarn skein, it was 107 grams. So it's slightly more than the 100 grams it says on the thing. But I'm like, okay, I was getting to like 53, 54. I'm like, oh, that's good. And it was actually more, but whatever. I'll just, I know what
It'll work out.
Yeah. I'll have a little bit extra, or I'll tack it onto the other one, or however it works. I'm excited. So I wound up the balls because I love that. And I was also stupid. Okay, I could have just looked at her sock on Instagram and figured out the color order, but I actually wrote down the color order and ticked it off over and over again so I'd know if they were even or not, which is another reason why I know that this, not just by size, that this ball is bigger than this one, because I marked it down that it's 2 more repeats. So again, bizarrely technical. And then I'm doing all of this, and the red for the toe, of course. And I did a center wind ball, so I can just go from both sides when I do it. But all of that, I'm so excited. I'm going to make a pair of socks, and I have a new sock pattern, which is Kay Jones on, I think her stuff's on Lovecrafts. Anyways, it's called umbrella socks, and the entire shtick about these is she doesn't like toe-up socks. So she has it's a kind of toe that she would put on her normal cuff-down socks. So it's toe-up version, and then it is an afterthought heel. So you mark where the heel is, and you just knit a big tube, and you find the center of the row that you marked, and you cut the little strand, you unravel a little bit, and then you knit the heel from both sides going up at the same time instead of doing a back and forth heel. Which is fascinating, but it's also a thing that you can't, like, I can't look at these socks and be like, well, it would be nice to do an afterthought heel, but I can throw my own heel in. But this is not a sock heel that you can do any other way but afterthought heel. So I thought it was fascinating. I'm interested in trying it. I'm not sure how it's going to go. So, and again, long sock knitting story for no particular reason. And another thing I like about the umbrella socks is that you can throw in whatever little pattern you like to it, which I'm excited for.
No, that's always fun.
Yeah, they're just a plain stockinette sock. But because I didn't want to, I wanted to try on a different yarn than that. I have a yarn that's a little more, Kia's yarn will give you good even stripes, and you'll be able to see everything that is going on with those. But this is from my friend Dawn at the Woolly Cabin, and it's a very stripy patriotic sock, so I cast those on quick so they could be my testers. And I'm thinking of throwing a little, I mean, they're already as patriotic as can be, but let's make it louder.
Sure, why not? I mean,
I'm not sure I'm going to do this, so if I don't be like, oh, Anne, you lied, because I'm telling you. But what I want to do is I want, I'm working on the toes now, so I have time, but I want to do just a little knit purl stitch pattern. So it says Trump down the front of my socks, and because they're red, white, and blue, you won't be able to see it. So it's kind of like, ooh, silent majority, but it's Trump. I mean, we have a lot of patriotic sock yarn around these days, so might as well
take advantage.
That's right.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it'll just be fun. I have a friend who has incredibly small feet. She has size 7 feet. How is that allowed? So she not only loves handmade socks, but her socks are very quick to knit because she has small feet. So that's my plan for this.
Ah, good. So you get a test pair out of it. You get a present. It's a win-win.
Right, definitely.
Very good.
And I don't publish sock patterns. What are you talking about? Mostly for fun.
Oh, I tried to make a sock pattern once, and then I remembered I didn't care about doing it, and I moved on.
Like, oh yeah, it's that thing I hate.
Never mind.
Oh well, that was fun though.
For a minute, I enjoyed that, and then I remembered.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yeah.
So I have my finished beanie.
Ooh.
This is the Blurry Flurry beanie by Cozy Up Knits. I got it off of Lovecrafts, and this is Potions yarn, and man, is it gorgeous to knit up. I mean, like, I have pretty even stitches anyway, but seriously, this yarn, it makes me look like I'm some sort of fancy something or other. Because look at how, like, beautiful all these stitches show, even with the different colors. I mean, so this is going to be a gift for my mail lady, who helped me find my yarn when it was missing. My this yarn, when it got lost in the post office, my wanted yarn and fiber. When this yarn got lost, she did a whole bunch of stuff to get me my box. So apparently she likes bright, happy colors. So therefore, I figured this was bright and happy enough. But this pattern, I knit it in a DK weight, so I altered it.
Mhm.
But it's written for a worsted weight yarn, and I mean, even with DK weight, I knit this up in like 2 days. So nice little present. If you need a present for somebody, it's a nice easy pattern, but it looks fancy. If you look at how it's got the slip stitches with the yarn in front and whatever. So very cool stuff. I enjoyed
very
it.
cool pattern.
Well written, easy to follow, you know, everything that you want in some sort of gift giving pattern.
Right.
And then that's ready. Da, 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 da.
Ta-da.
Oh, it's a sweater.
Yay, sweater!
I've started my Audrey test knit.
Uh-huh.
I had hoped it would be longer, but alas, it is not.
Hmm.
I only have until the 1st to get this done, though, so I've got to get my little button gear, because my not so little button gear, because
I know, to get a full sweater out in a month, that is not easy.
No, and I'm not a sweater knitter, and I'm not sure what I was thinking when I signed up. I told her that she said, oh, you know, if you make any modifications, just post it on Ravelry. And I said, I'm not allowed on Ravelry. Do you mind? And she's like, no, that's fine. I don't care. Just do whatever you want to. And I'm like, okay.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I won't be posting anything that I do on Ravelry. Sorry to tell you.
Like, even if I wanted to, it'd be kind of.
I'm not. That's what I told her. I'm not allowed on there. I'm not welcome. So.
I love how you're not allowed on there is almost like it. Even though with all the cancel culture and everything else, it is still ridiculous to me that like you're not allowed on public websites.
I know.
It's almost as if my mom said no. It's still that kind of a thing in it. You know, even though it's like, no, I was booted off because the owners are pretty dang intolerant. It's kind of a...
Yeah, they don't like me or my politics, so therefore I don't go on there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess saying I'm not allowed isn't accurate.
Right.
Well, no, I'm not welcome.
You're not welcome.
But it's different than not allowed. So,
right.
Speaking of Ravelry, have you seen the new site that has popped up lately, Ribbler?
I have heard of it. I haven't been on it at all.
So I've signed up to it. It seems to me like they're staying out of politics, so I think I'm going to try to maybe upload some of my non-political patterns to the site, because contrary to popular belief, I don't feel like I have to put up all my stuff. Like if I go to a site and they say, hey, we would just prefer you to not be political, I have other things that I can share, and I'm cool with that. It's the being upfront and this is our policy for everybody that is where I, you know, if you can have your Obama stuff on there or Hillary or whomever it may be, and I can't have my Trump, that's where I have the issue.
Right.
So I'm going to try it out. But yeah, so Ribbler seems neat. It's different. I haven't quite figured out how to search. Like, I'm not sure if there's a way to like search for specific types of things. It does seem like there are quite a lot of patterns on it. I know that Cozy Up Knits has some of theirs on there already. I know some other, there's quite a lot of designers on there. So something interesting. They're calling it Crafting Revolution. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's cool.
I don't know.
I don't have enough information yet, but it has an app, which Ravelry never had and people hated, so that's cool.
That's cool.
So,
yeah, that's nice. Have you ever tried to put some of your political patterns on Lovecrafts?
I've never tried to put anything on Lovecrafts. I should. I think about it from time to time, and then I move on.
Lovecrafts is a bit of a pain. Like I had my patterns, they like had to ask me to like add a key to my patterns and stuff. So I had like several times back and forth. I'm like, oh, okay, now you're good. I'm like, okay, that's good. Thank you. But
really the whole moral of the story is that if I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. So there you go. I haven't written it down. I haven't thought about it except for when you and I talk about it. So
right. No, I do stuff like that too. Like,
Hey, you want to know something else that's kind of interesting? I got a message from someone. I actually need to respond to them. I didn't write it down, so I haven't responded to them yet. Oh, this is why. So, Hobby Lobby. Some people know Hobby Lobby. Actually, everybody probably knows Hobby Lobby, but most people don't. People are very polarized about it, similar to Ravelry. Either you like them or you don't. There's not a lot of in between, right? So apparently Adela from Lola Bean Yarn Company posted about their hand-dyed yarn that they're now offering. And I actually was there a week ago or so, and I saw it with my mom, and it's really pretty yarn. It's, you know, it's wool, and it's tonal, and it's different things, and it's $15 a hank. And then if you go to Hobby Lobby, they either have their yarn on sale a lot, or you can use a 40% off coupon, which makes it really affordable. So this woman said, you know, I tried to say that not everybody can afford hand-dyed yarn that is, you know, as expensive as Lola Bean yarn is. And apparently she took a screenshot of this woman's post saying, hey, you know, not everybody can afford that, and like put her on blast. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. What's the point?
Okay, first of all, which is it? Okay, are we talking about more affordable options and fat shaming people and saying, well, it's difficult to make sweaters for people if you're larger because you have to buy more yarn and yarn is expensive? Or are you saying that you have to buy the most expensive yarn all the time because a certain dyer says you do?
Right.
Like, are you saying yes to affordable options, or are you saying no to affordable options? Make up your mind.
Well, they only say yes to affordable options when it suits them.
Right. And I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of yarn dyers on our show, and we love all the yarn dyers we've had on our show. They're awesome. But hand-dyed yarn is expensive. It just is. We understand this. The yarn dyers understand this. Okay, it is. And when people want a good product, 'tis capitalism. So you go and look for a cheaper option. And if Hobby Lobby can mass produce in whatever extent, I mean, I always have my caveat of, you know, so long as slaves aren't making it, just saying, if they can go out and produce a quality product at a good price, then what's going to stop people from buying it? You either have to up your own game in some way, or you just have to understand that not everyone's going to buy from you because they have this option. Markets change all the time. You can't go out and say that.
Right. Things are always changing. And I think the thing with the companies like this one that's being so ridiculous to this woman is that they want to have it both ways. They want to be all Black Lives Matter, you know, gotta support the little guy, blah, blah. But my skeins of yarn are like $32 a skein or so.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy beautiful yarn. I am lucky now that we've started to do the podcast. I have been able to get my hands on some nicer stuff through the graciousness of dyers offering codes or gifts or different things.
Right.
But really, for the most part, as I've talked about before, when I wanted fancy hand-dyed yarn, I learned how to hand dye yarn because it was not in my budget. And so they have to understand that, you know, for some people it might be a treat. I would go to the fiber festival with my mother, and it would be my treat to buy 1 or 2 skeins to bring home and make a project. I was never, ever buying sweater quantities of yarn. It's not in my budget. It's just not. So.
Right. Or, I mean, for sometimes buying a sweater quantity of yarn is like, I have sat down, I have planned, I have figured out exactly what I need, and I have figured out exactly how much of it, and I'm going to make this, but I've taken a lot of time and effort, and now I'm going to put it on my needles right now because I'm not going to just be like, oh, well, that will happen.
Right. And I mean, I think it's fabulous that people can just be like, oh, I love that yarn, I'm going to go buy 3 skeins of it or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. In my world, there's more planning. And unfortunately, I mean, my mom and I looked long and hard at that Hobby Lobby yarn. Mm-hmm. And then we decided that right now we didn't need anything with, you know, that it wasn't necessary to buy, and we left it there. But it's not because, I don't know, just this whole hoity-toity, I'm better than everyone else, and you should buy my stuff, and who the heck do you think you are?
I know, and there is a certain amount of, and we've talked about this again, of sort of yarn snobbery where like, oh, well, I only use the finest. Well, that's very nice. I mean, certainly we all want to use the finest, but there's there is I use high quality stuff because I love high quality stuff, and there is I use high quality stuff to put me one up above the person next to you. There's a large attitude shift.
There's all different things, and you know, for me, I enjoy like that that blanket I made.
Mm-hmm.
I used acrylic yarn because I saw how much wear and tear the first one got, and now some people might say, oh, well, you should have used wool, it would have lasted longer, it would have blah blah. Everybody has an opinion about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My fact is that I'm probably going to be making that girl another blanket in 3 years. So am I going to spend $150 on wool, or am I going to spend $40 on acrylic and make her another one?
Oh, yes. And especially since it's like, oh, well, this has a stain on it, I'm going to throw it in the wash. And then you're like, it's wool.
Yeah, exactly. Because I can't afford to buy superwash, that's for sure. And that's just as bad as acrylic. So you're in the same spot anyway. But the snobbery, everybody, that's the one thing I really don't like about the yarn community. Not our community necessarily that follows us, but just the fact that there's so much of this like, I'm better than you, I have these fabulous Instagram photos and blah blah. And no, let's just do real life here. We're all people. I mean, dude, if I showed you I've got 4 piles of laundry on my bed waiting to be folded right now. I mean, life is life, and you've got to embrace it.
Right. And I've also, I didn't delve into this so much, but it's like Hobby Lobby's doing hand-dyed yarns, and they stole their ideas from this dyer and this dyer. Like, oh gosh, they stole your colors. How horrible. Like, and it's very similar to, you know, Walmart steals the styles of other brands, sort of a thing. It's a mass-produced item, which styles and colors and things, you can say that somebody did them first, but to a certain extent, you don't own them. I mean, you can make a case in certain respects, but dyers of yarn, there are so many colors out there, and I've heard other dyers say that, like, woohoo, you're excited, you're like, yeah, I'm going to put out this new color and I worked hard on it, and then you find that somebody else did something similar. And knitting patterns too, you're like, yay, I did a new thing. I didn't actually do a new thing. Well, I hope you like it anyways.
Right. Well, I still have my one pattern that I have been accused of stealing from someone else, and so I'm very aware of patterns that use that kind of stitch, because I was accused of stealing it from someone, and now I see other people doing it, and I'm like, well, maybe they stole my pattern. It's like, what the heck? It's people. There are only so many things you can do with yarn and needles, and there are going to be different iterations of the same stitch over and over and over again. It would be one thing if you opened the pattern and the wording was mine. Then I could say, yes, you stole it from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of the camp where if I work on my pattern and I write it myself out of my brain, and then my tech editor looks at it and helps me fix my mistakes, and then that's my pattern. And if you do this, you could do the same stitch, Anne. You could take my stained glass spirals beanie that I have with the twisted stitches around it, the slip stitches, and I'm sure that you could write a pattern, and it would not be the same as mine, because you are not me. That's true. How it works.
Oh, how is true. Oh, sorry.
Please don't do that, but you understand my point.
Right. No, that you can totally, and part of that is innovation, that you have somebody, you know, you may have started here and then you build on it, then you build on it, then you build on it. It's like, oh, well, you copied me. It's like, yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah, not really.
Not.
No, yeah. Sorry. No.
But I don't, just this whole, like, what gives Lola Bean a corner on the hand-dyed market? What gives her the ability to say that she is better than everybody else, or that you can't do Hobby Lobby? Like,
Yeah, there is. Sorry, the dogs just came in. But there is a certain amount of, I think, with different social justice issues. Again, this is not an. I don't know so much about Lola Bean that I could really give you an authoritative, like, yes, this is exactly what happens. But from my understanding of her, she has kind of thrown her weight around in the community when it came to social justice issues. That she has put herself in a position where she sort of speaks to these issues and speaks with some authority. So that when another issue comes up, that Lola Bean, she's trying to kind of speak to these issues and be the one that you talk to these issues. And to a certain extent, we do that also because, we're a political podcast who talks about these things. So Hobby Lobby does a thing and she is the one who takes offense. That is her position to do this. And it's like, do you have to though?
Right. And I think that's more of the issue. And if somebody says, hey, not everybody can afford the yarn that you offer, it's nice to have an alternative. Well, heaven forbid that we don't fall at your feet telling you how fabulous your yarn is. And then the lady who sent this to me, she got the last laugh in my opinion, because she said, at least I'm not going around exploiting my kid to make money. Because Lola Bean yarn is about, she uses her daughter as the mascot or whatever you would call it, her theme, or you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So that made me laugh. Actually, like,
first of all, that's a little weird. Secondly, I mean, having your child as the mascot is a little. But I've seen people, not even just with kids having a mascot. I would say even having your own animal as a mascot is a mistake as well. Having your kid as a mascot is definitely weird, but I've seen people who've like built their brands around their dogs. Like, this is my dog and this is, the face of my company, and then the dog dies and you're like, oh.
Oh, you mean like Ravelry and Bob?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking,
it's not funny when dogs pass or animals.
No, but I've seen people, like, even I've noticed that Doug the Pug, how they dress him up in all these costumes, and he has an Instagram following that they.
Nope.
Oh, well, there's someone called Doug the Pug who has an Instagram following because they put him in costumes. But that they clearly thought of this because they got another pug and they had puppies, and they're like, I'm making money off this. I can't. If this dog dies, I'm done. Right. And I've seen it was an Instagram couple, not Instagram, a YouTube couple, and they do a lot of vlogging, and they had their dog, and and again, all of their marketing, every shirt, every icon was this dog, and then the dog died. I'm like, oh no. First of all, it's tragic that your dog died, but also your company mascot, like, you made this an intrinsic part of how you do business. Where do you go from here?
Now you get to just, wear your dog that has passed, and how sad is that for you?
I know. I know, this person, like, so much merch, and here's like a pillow of their dog. Oh, by the way. But
yeah, that's depressing. I'm sad now.
And I mean, to a certain extent, if you are, again, people aren't dogs, let's separate that out. Make sure we're in here.
Right.
Dogs, people, separate things. Anyways,
we're not saying anything about the kid. We're not saying that.
We're not saying that her daughter is like a dog. No, we're not. That's separate kids, people. Kids, people, animals. You know what I'm saying? But you have, so you have your daughter as a baby is your icon. And, well, what's she going to say when she's 14?
Yeah, what if she doesn't think it's cool anymore? Then what do you do?
Is it still going to be her as a baby on your yarn? Like,
Well, it might be, but, then there's that whole, a lot of people who are social justice warriors are very big proponents of, like, not putting your kids up when they haven't given consent and this and that and whatever. So, well, what if did she consent to it? Mm-hmm. Are you exploiting her?
Yeah.
But anyway.
that, I mean,
And then you could be like me. I have kids that desperately want to get on my Instagram, and I'm like, nope, not going to happen.
right.
What
No,
are you going to do?
there's arguments either way that, you know, kids are part of your life and you want to put them out there, sure. But there's also when you are building your brand, it's not just like I was doing something cute with my kid today, and it was I'm building my brand around how cute my kids are.
I mean, my kids are cute. I could totally build a brand around them, but I'm not.
Yeah, your kids are pretty dang cute. I'm a privileged person to know what your kids look like, and they're adorable.
Why, thank you.
But, yeah, I can see you know, naming your privileges. I can see DK's kids.
You know all kinds of stuff.
I know. It's exciting.
You're so fancy.
I'm so fancy. I hang with
And I
pretty
know
cool
about you.
people.
And I know all about Anne and her day job and why she's so smart all the time.
You don't
Right,
gotta
Anne?
burn me like that.
Dude, I'm just saying, it's been asked and I know all the answers, but we're not going to tell you guys. Sorry.
No, you're not gonna know. It's okay though. Thanks guys for asking. No, my day job mostly consists of me telling my coworkers about various world events and their eyes glazing over. So, in fact, I think many of them they kind of wish I would stop. Oh, speaking of issues that are not well known or cared, I don't know if you're finished with the Lola Bean thing.
Yeah, that was a long topic, so we're good.
Okay,
Speaking of
sorry.
issues that nobody cares about, Anne's got something.
Oh, let me tell you. No, I feel a little bad whenever I do like a let me tell you what's going on in England, as if looking at our analytics, not many, but some of our viewers are English, and I'm sure are also very knowledgeable on this. It's not as if I'm sharing any secret knowledge for you. In fact, if you have a subscription to the Telegraph, you probably know more than I do because there's a stupid paywall for all their articles. It makes me so mad. Like, I'm not subscribing to you, Telegraph. Get out of here. Anyways, but the actor Lawrence Fox, who in recent months he got into some political debates. Like, I don't think yes.
I just want to interject here before Anne continues on. If you don't know who Lawrence Fox is, please don't feel bad. I also had to look him up. I'll insert a picture because he's one of those guys where you might have seen his face, but you might not remember it. So carry on, Anne.
Well, also to do a little introduction on why I mean, Lawrence Fox is a generally interesting person anyways. But I want you to put in mind a picture of 15-year-old Anne. Okay, I want you to imagine this. And here is 15-year-old Anne, a little intense, reading a lot, just started knitting. I've been knitting a couple of years, but knits a lot, reads a lot, flips through the Daily Mail in her free time. This is what I'm doing, you know, reading Daniel Hannan articles. My mom sends me political articles while I'm at summer camp, and she actually mails them to me so they don't have to print it out through the email system that they have when I'm at camp. It's very considerate of her. Thank you, Mom. I really appreciate that. But this is 15-year-old Anne, and at the same time, I'm watching a lot of British television because why not? So I'm watching Inspector Lewis, in which Lawrence Fox is the detective. Detective Hathaway was his character in Inspector Lewis, and I'm also watching Doctor Who, which it was David Tennant era, the 10th Doctor, and Billy Piper, and so yeah, I was quite interested in the story, even though I don't know these people personally, that they actually got married and had 2 kids, and then a very bitter divorce and argument over the children, which I didn't follow as closely because, you know, what a bummer.
Who got married? I'm sorry.
Lawrence Fox and Billy Piper. This was...
Oh, I thought Billy Piper was a guy, so it's a woman?
Is a woman, yes.
Okay.
Billy Piper is a woman. And
okay. I'm back with you. I gotcha.
Coming back into the sort of, and obviously, not obviously, but I didn't follow him much since. So we're a decade on now, and Lawrence Fox is coming into the news, and his big thing is he's on it was a British daytime television show called Question Time, and the question was about Meghan Markle, and it was, her unfair treatment by the press. And he said, no, it wasn't unfair treatment. We all wanted to adore her. What are you talking about? And then the reporter said that it was his privilege as a white male to say that. And he banged his head on the table and said, no, that's racist for you to say that my opinion doesn't count because of my skin color. And it was kind of an explosion. So he's on Twitter a lot. He does a lot of political things there. And he's been on a lot of different British political talk shows since. And he was in a Netflix series called White Lines, which it's all about drugs. I'm not interested. But good for you for getting the job. But I'm not, not my thing. So he was on that. And there's not many jobs for any actors. And I suppose not. I mean, while his career has taken a political bent, and I think he's following that, I think there is a certain amount of, and who's going to hire me? Even coming from an acting family, many of his father and his uncle were very prominent actors, and also his siblings are prominent actors and cousins. So the Fox family is very important that way. But he's kind of a minor actor who also has a singing career, and he published a couple of CDs, and now he has started his own political party. It's somebody gave him £1 million to start this political party, and it has fundraised enough already to the amount of £5 million. So apparently it was a little rushed out the door, but it's called the Reclaim Party. And the point of it is sort of like a reclaiming of British values. So it's against cancel culture. It's against tearing down statues. It's for no longer having public funding of the BBC, particularly if the BBC is going to consistently take anti-British stances on issues. So it's all this is important traditionalism. And there's been a little speculation because, of course, question is with new political parties, you have Nigel Farage and his Brexit party, like that one would think be the same kind of voter would come out for the Brexit party as would come out for the Reclaim Party. Apparently they have talked, but Nigel and Lawrence have talked, but I don't know what the result is of that. I don't know if they're just taking very different directions. The Brexit party because it has been for Brexit, it's taken on some of the social issues in Britain that people in the Brexit party were very clearly against tearing down statues, and they were talking about immigration and other things such as that. But however, the Reclaim Party is more specifically for for the institutions, about there not being implicit bias in the institutions for specific political side, to teach history as history. At the same time, the goal, while just having the Reclaim Party sort of pushes the political line a bit, the goal is to actually have seats in Parliament, which is, again, I'm in America. What do I care? But it's sort of okay, well, that's very nice, Lawrence. What's your tax plan? I mean, I trust you. I think you're trying to do good things. I think you're really putting yourself out there. I thought it was interesting that before he declared he was going to have a political party, he was saying things like, oh, well, I've been reading a lot of Ronald Reagan lately. And I thought it was just, and he's worn, a Make America Great Again mask. And, I thought he was just interested in American politics. He's mentioned Rush Limbaugh in interviews. He's mentioned, I believe, Ben Shapiro and a couple different things. And you can tell how many of his interviews I've watched because I've rapt attention. But he's mentioned American politics before. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting, that he takes an interest. And I didn't think that he was perhaps reading Ronald Reagan biographies because it was another actor turned politician. With interesting parallels.
It is
But
interesting. And when you were talking about some of his values and things, I was thinking, you know, it kind of sounds like a Trump-esque platform, like kind of some of his traditional values and getting rid of cancel culture and embracing England for England is not necessarily a bad thing. And it's kind of what Trump has stirred up around here.
right, right. And again, that being nationalist, but nationalist in a I respect my country and want to preserve it, and also you have your country and you want to preserve it, and I of course respect it. Though I'm going to look out for my own interests and assume that you look out for yours. Having that kind of strong value system. But yeah, he said that he's not he doesn't want to be a specifically conservative or liberal party. This is sort of a we're English and we want to preserve England. We want to be good custodians of English history, which I think is that shouldn't have to be a conservative or liberal issue, but it has now become that, and I think that's why the party is framed in that way. But at the same time, I'm one of those, you know, old stodgy Americans married to her two-party system who's like, you just invented a political party? Well, what's your tax policy?
Well, I don't know. With the way things have gotten so divisive lately, I think that America could maybe take a little page out of his book and look at getting rid of some of this two-party nonsense that we got going on. Because either you're a Democrat who is going to bow to the progressives and the crazies in the party, or you're like right wing. And there's a lot of people who don't fall into either spot, and it should be more open to everybody. But
right. I mean, and then ideally, I mean, the answer to that, as you probably know, is going to be, well, but you're going to split the vote.
And I
that's
understand
something is the Reclaim Party going to split the vote from the Brexit voter, which is going to split the vote from the Conservative and the Tory voter, which has been said by many people. Why did we vote Conservative when all the things that Boris Johnson has done are horrible? Like, please. That is an issue. That there's a lot of reforming that can be done in England, and that I do wish them well. But there's not, I don't know if there's one would hope that there is the enthusiasm in England that, you know, to say the make Britain great again, make America great again, to be proud of yourself and your culture, not to brush aside what has been done, but to understand that history as well as people are multifaceted, and that it's not just, you don't get a yes, no. Sometimes you get a let's discuss what was good and what was bad.
right.
And things. But yeah, so yeah, I'm really interested in where he goes with it. Like I said before, Lawrence Fox is a very interesting person to listen to. So I hope that the interesting to listen to is not, does not, that it continues, but it continues into decisive policies. As he has said before, he did not vote for Brexit to begin with, but he voted to stay in the EU. But then when the British people had voted to leave the EU, he was upset that their votes then didn't matter. Right. So I don't know. He was for Brexit after that. So I don't know if it's a political kind of awakening to these issues that he didn't pay much attention to politics beforehand. And again, I am a stodgy old ideologue, so I'm still like, but the issues, they matter. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where he falls on different issues, basically. If nothing else, it's fun to watch and fun to look over, and a nice break from our own election and everyone going crazy. You can be like, oh, well, listen to Lawrence Fox for a while. He does have a nice voice. Please, British man, please tell me about the culture war and the importance of talking to people of different opinions. It's wonderful to listen to, so I don't have to go back to and Trump's a racist because we say he is, even though he says he's not.
Wow.
Not that he doesn't have issues.
You mentioned a tweet, or was it a tweet with Lawrence Fox and someone else who they called him a racist?
Yes.
And then,
no, they said, well, you're a racist. And he said, well, you're a pedophile. And it's like, wait, no, I'm not. What is this? And it's like, I thought we were calling names. And afterwards, he's like, well, that was not the best response to go to their level. I'm like, no, that's funny.
It's funny. Like, if you're just going to like call me names for no reason, then I think that we should all start doing that. Uh-huh. The next time somebody calls me a racist, I'm just going to come up with some random insult and see what happens. The hell, why not?
Best luck to
sounds
him.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I say, oh, it'd be great to have another party, but really, I can't even in my brain imagine what it would look like if we did get a third party or one of them disbanded, or I can't even imagine what would happen. So.
Well, yeah, I've had several friends who are like, oh, well, look at I don't even remember her name. This is as much as I know. There's a woman who's running as a libertarian candidate, and oh, isn't she wonderful and everything else? I am thoroughly unimpressed with libertarian candidates. Not only, and the kind of, oh, I'm so reasonable that I vote for a libertarian candidate. Who does what? It's like, oh, but she hasn't been accused of this or that. Well, nobody's looking into her. Like, nobody cares. She hasn't
Nobody
been.
knows who she is.
Right. There hasn't been the full scrutiny of the press on this person. And maybe this woman is wonderful, but she's not as effective. Nobody knows who she is, and you can just sit here and pretend that your third party vote is more intellectual than the people out there trying to get stuff done.
Yeah, I say, oh, it'd be great to see another party, but I mean, we've got the libertarians, we have the Tea Party stuff going on. We had nothing seems to take hold, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, they do seem to push the agenda in different directions, which is a fairly good thing. But it's rather like the people who say, "Oh, well, I'm not a part of any party. I just look at the candidates and judge them for who they are, and they've voted for the same party for 10 years." And you're like, you could just say which party you vote for. You really can. You don't need to give a little lilt to your voice when you talk about how wisely you judge. You can claim a party, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even understand how people can be undecided at this point in time, but hey, who knows? Everybody's got their own thing going on in their brain.
Right.
It just seems pretty like good and evil. It doesn't seem like there's a big difference. I mean, like there's a big middle ground. But hey, who am I? I know nothing.
Get back to your knitting.
I know, right?
As some people have said. No, it's that some people have commented, well, get back to your knitting. Like, what do you think this is? What do you think the premise of the show?
Dude, we totally talked about name for like 20 minutes.
I know, good
Whatever,
for us.
Come on.
High five, up top.
Oh, man. But thanks for joining us today. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.